history, Korea matches with situation of contact and interaction with other foreign countries, probably more than in any other period of time of the country's history, impacting then the deep foundation of the country, as well as its cultural habits and thus its stability. And it begins with the Japanese occupation of Korea during the first half of the century. If Japanese colonialism and imperialism was a threat to Korean nationalism, it was also an opportunity for more openness to the world. The Korean New Women movement is a great example of this process, as Korean women, inspired by Western ideologies and ideas, tried to elevate the status by opposing a Confucian, that is to say, patriarchal Korean society. Western thoughts also came more indirectly through the Japanese themselves. Western forms of thought were translated into Japanese, and as Korean could learn Japanese very quickly, there was a rapid absorption of Western knowledge. For instance, pretty much all young people today have a Japanese copy of Karl Marx's Capital. Influence of the West and modernization threatened the old customs of Korea, and so tensions, which were already there, would keep increasing. The end of the Second World War in 1945 and the repartition of the two Korea between the USA on the one hand, controlling the South, and the USSR on the other hand, controlling the North, corresponds to the beginning of a slippery slope as for tensions within the peninsula. In particular, the liberation of Korea after the Second World War led to exiled people coming back into the country. In the north, for those who were in China and Manchuria, and in the south, for those who were deported in Japan or who went in the USA during the Japanese occupation, leading necessarily to a cultural heterogeneity. Later, conflicts and tensions within the Korean Peninsula were also reinforced by the American anti-communist policy in the South. Indeed, the USA delayed land reforms that had already been implemented in the North since 1946. There was a real will from both Koreas to unify the whole peninsula. And so the northern part of Korea invaded the South in this same precise objective. However, the American intervention made the conflict become international. Such a civil war, because it was a civil war, was exceptional in Korea's history and corresponds to a turning point in the relations between the two Koreas. During the war, in the same way Vietnam, for instance, used the French occupation to make radical political changes, Syngman Rhee, which was the leader of the southern part of Korea, used the UN forces, which were mainly American soldiers, to achieve its own political ambitions for the Korean Peninsula, that is to say, unification. Eventually, this war, spurred and fostered by international powers such as the USA, perpetuated the isolation and the division between the two Koreas. The question of legitimacy between the two Koreas, North and South, during the 60s and 70s became overwhelming. While the northern part of Korea was considered as a role model for economic development for decolonized country, newly decolonized country in Africa as well as in Asia, The southern part of Korea was seen as a corrupted regime and had much more difficulties to recover from the Korea War during the 50s. Many changes in strength relations between North Korea and South Korea occurred during the second half of the century, emphasizing the real uncertainty of their relation.